This is a wonderful democracy now has stood with us for years in calling out the unfairness of this case, and I think people were onto it very early. What simply happened was that the government sent down their key man, Shahid Hussein, who had entrapped people up in Albany and had nothing better to do with him, so they sent him down to hang out in a mosque in Newburgh. And the mosque very quickly caught on to him that he was a phony and a government informant, and they kicked him out. So he went out into the parking lot and began to talk to anybody he could find. So let's do jihad. Let's get involved. I'm incredibly rich. I've got money, money, money. And he hooked some guy who was Cromedy, who got interested in this, not because I think he was at all interested in jihad, but because he was interested in the money. And they talked off and on, and Cromedy backed out after a while, and then Shahid Hussein realized that he was going to lose this fish that he had hooked unless he upped it. And so he came back to him with an offer saying, I'll pay $250,000. And he later tried to deny that in a lie, and the government allowed him to do that, but there's a tape recorder. I was actually making that offer, $250,000. And so they decided to go ahead with this plot. I believe Cromedy all along intended to try to get the money and not to do anything, not to harm anybody, because that was not his nature. Just before the plot was to go down, a few weeks before, the government suddenly realized that they wanted more people. They wanted to entrap larger numbers. It wouldn't look good if they were just entrapping one person. So they told Cromedy he needed some lookouts. And so he went out and hired and recruited these three young kids who just needed money. And in one case, certainly in David Williams' case, he desperately needed the money to get his brother a liver transplant. And so they joined in for a very brief time, and then the whole thing came down on top of them. There was, I think, never any doubt that the whole purpose of this was the government trying to buy crime with money, offering money to get the crime. It had nothing to do with terrorism. It had nothing to do with protecting a community against a group of people. What I find really offensive about it was that they then took these entrapment cases and turned them on the Muslim community and used it to generate hatred against the Muslim community by making all sorts of lies and exaggerated statements about what the case was about. They became a purveyor of hate, really, against the Muslim community. And the government has absolutely no business doing that. So that's how it happened.
None of these brothers got jobs, huh? Only there's three of us without no jobs.
Sure.
But actually, how you think we feel, huh? We getting ready to do all this, huh? We ain't got no money in our pockets, huh? How you think we feel? Look at me, bro. How you think they feel?
If these brothers are doing for money, I don't need them. Subhanallah.
No, I talked to them already. They already know.
Okay. And
they're not even worried about
it. It is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that's what it is. And if they won't need for money or greediness, or they think they're going to make any money or angerness, please do not, because this is jihad. This is jihad. And that's what jihad is.
But you know what they think, huh? They can use the money, though.
One point wanted for murder in Pakistan. I don't know the details of that, but after having seen his trajectory in the US, it's a long trail of slime. Like, he just kept ripping people off, conning people, tricking people out of their money, and then eventually was caught in a case where he was defrauding the DMV. He was getting people fake driver's licenses, working with a corrupt DMV employee, and the FBI was going to send him to prison and then deport him to Pakistan. But instead, they gave him an opportunity to work for them in Albany, in our case, the case of Yassin Aref and Mohammed Hussein. And he did very successfully wrongfully prosecute them. He's so deceptive and slimy, and they ended up getting convicted and sentenced to 15 years. And we thought, this guy is so dishonest, and the jury hated him. They probably won't use him again. But sure enough, we found out they used him in the Newburgh case, and they used him in other cases. The FBI loves this guy. And after the Newberg case, they used him in the Khalifa al-Akili case in Pittsburgh. And that was featured in the documentary T-Error by Lyric Cabral and David Sutcliffe. And that actually featured the clip of of Shahid Hussein offering James Cromedy the $250,000 when he didn't realize he was being recorded. So this guy, then he went on to form this limousine company in the Albany, the capital region. And that was very tragically the limousine that killed 20 people in Schoharie County in 2018. And he was in Pakistan at that point, letting his son run the company and basically telling him how to do it, telling him, don't worry if the brakes don't work. It doesn't really matter. We don't care. And his son is now doing 5 to 15-year sentence while he sits in Pakistan hanging out with his super rich brother Malik, who kind of destabilized the government in Pakistan. So this guy has a long history.
So, first of all, I just saw a letter from Comedy's lawyer that he's sending to the court asking to be appointed to represent him. So I'm pretty sure that Comedy is going to make a move to also be released. Of course, his case is different than the others. All the cases are slightly different, so he will have to present that to the court. But I think it looks pretty good that the judge will grant that. In terms of the second part of that, there's a lot of cases that look like this case. This is a particularly clear, dramatic example of it. But this was the government's standard operating procedure right after 9/11. They were out there going to create as many terrorists as they could to show the public, I think, that they were on the job, that they knew what they were doing, that they were keeping America safe. And if they couldn't find any real terrorists, and there really weren't any real terrorists around, they had to create them. And that's what they did. They created these terrorists. So we have a lot of cases out there. The Fort Dix 5 is one. The Holy Land 5 is another case. Afia Siddiqui is another case. You can go down a whole long list of these cases. And some of them, and particularly the Holy Land 5 and the Newberg and the Fort Dix 5, have essentially life sentences. They will probably die in jail. So there's a really high priority on us trying to get these cases out, these people out. And so we're going to really need a lot of work to go in there and start to try different theories to get them out. This case is a godsend to us. It really underlies the whole hypocrisy of the government's position and allows us to argue now in these other cases, the same thing happened here. This is no different. You just have to look at the facts and realize that these people were set up. I see our work is cut out for us now. This particular case shows the way. It may not be through compassionate release motions. We may have to try other strategies. But I think, in a way, what it does is it breaks the assumption that these cases were real cases. It shows that the government had a policy of creating cases when they couldn't find any real cases, and then pretending that they were real cases and demonizing the Muslim community in the meantime. So that's what we're going to have to work on, I think, over the next few years.